Quick note, my AI voice runs slow, so bump this to 1.25 times if you want. Trust me, you'll want to hear every number I'm about to share. Let's go. You make $75,000 a year. You walk into a dealership feeling financially confident. 3 hours later, you're signing papers for a $650 monthly payment, wondering if you just destroyed your financial future. You did. I'm Alex. And after analyzing Federal Reserve data on car loans, depreciation curves, and household income statistics, I realized something disturbing. Most Americans are driving cars they mathematically cannot afford, and the gap between what they think they can afford and what they actually can afford is destroying their wealth. By the end of this video, you'll know the exact dollar amount you should spend on a car based on 4 different salary levels: $50,000, $75,000, $100,000, and $150,000. But more importantly, at minute 6, I'm going to show you the one calculation that dealers pray you never do. Because once you see this math, you'll never look at car payments the same way. If you've ever wondered why you make good money but still feel broke, stick around. Because your car payment is probably the reason. Most people think they can afford way more car than they actually can. And here's why. Banks aren't your financial advisors. They're in the business of making money off your monthly payments for as long as possible. The average car payment in America right now, $742 for new cars, $525 for used. But here's the part that should terrify you. Just because a bank approves you for that payment doesn't mean you should take it. Car salespeople have mastered the art of making unaffordable cars seem affordable. They'll stretch your loan to 6, 7, even 8 years just to get that monthly payment to a number that doesn't make you run screaming. But what they won't tell you, you'll still be making payments when your car needs major repairs, and you'll be underwater on the loan for years. Therefore, today we're breaking down exactly how much car you can afford at 4 different salaries using rules that actually work. Not the fantasy math dealers use to separate you from your money. Before we get into specific numbers, you need to understand the 2 rules that separate smart car buyers from people who end up financially trapped. And these rules are going to feel painful. But that pain is what keeps you from being broke. The first rule is called the 2-4-10 rule. 20% down. Finance for no more than 4 years. Keep total transportation costs under 10% of your monthly income. But some financial experts think that's too generous. They prefer the 2-3-8 rule. 20% down. Finance for 3 years maximum. Cap your payment at 8% of gross income. The logic? If you can't pay off a depreciating asset in 3 years, you're buying too much car. Now here's what dealers hope you'll ignore. Total cost of ownership. Your monthly payment is just the beginning. Insurance runs $100 to $300 monthly depending on your age and location. Then there's gas, maintenance, repairs, registration. But the biggest hidden cost? Depreciation. New cars lose an average of 23% of their value in the first year alone. That means if you buy a $30,000 car today, it'll be worth roughly $23,000 12 months from now. Congratulations, you just paid $7,000 to drive a car for 1 year. That's on top of your monthly payments, insurance, and everything else. Most cars lose about 60% of their value in the first 5 years. So that $30,000 car will be worth around $12,000 when you finally pay it off. This is why buying new cars is one of the worst financial decisions you can make, unless you're already wealthy. Now you understand the rules and the hidden costs. Let me show you what this actually looks like at different income levels. And I'm warning you now, these numbers are going to feel low. But that feeling? That's your ego talking, not your math. Let's start with someone earning $50,000 per year. After taxes, you're taking home around $3,400 monthly. Using the 10% rule, your total transportation budget is $340 monthly. The 8% rule, $272. But remember, that's your total transportation budget, not just your car payment. If you're spending $150 monthly on insurance and gas, you've got less than $200 left for an actual payment under the 10% rule. Under the 8% rule, about $120 for a payment. Let's be realistic about what this means. With a $150 monthly payment, 20% down, 5% interest over 4 years, you're looking at a car that costs around $8,000. Follow the more conservative 3-year rule, you're shopping in the $6,000 range. I know what you're thinking. 6 to 8,000 doesn't buy much car these days. You're absolutely right. But here's the brutal truth nobody wants to hear. If you're earning 50,000 per year, you can't afford a nice car. You can afford reliable transportation. There's a massive difference between the two. And understanding that difference will determine whether you build wealth or stay broke forever. The good news: reliable transportation exists in that price range. A well-maintained Honda Civic or Toyota Corolla with higher mileage will serve you faithfully for years, while you focus on increasing your income and building wealth. But what about people making more money? Does the formula change? Yes and no. The percentages stay the same, but the temptations get way worse. Now let's look at someone earning $75,000 annually. Your monthly take-home is probably around $5,100. Using the 10% rule, you can spend $510 monthly on transportation. The 8% rule gives you $4,800. After accounting for insurance and gas, you're looking at roughly $350 for a car payment under the 10% rule, or about $250 under the 8% rule. With a $350 payment, 20% down, reasonable financing, you're shopping for cars in the $15,000 to $16,000 range. The more conservative approach puts you around $11,000 to $12,000. At this salary level, you have more options, but you're still not shopping for luxury vehicles. You might find a certified pre-owned compact car or a slightly older midsize sedan. Here's where many people making $75,000 make their first major mistake. They see that they can get approved for a $500 or $600 monthly payment and think that means they can afford it. Wrong. Just because a bank will lend you money doesn't mean borrowing it is smart. Banks make money when you're in debt to them. They're not concerned about your financial well-being. And this is where I need to show you something that's going to make you angry. Because at minute 6, I promised you the calculation dealers pray you never do. Here it is. Meet Sarah. She earns $75,000 per year. She walks into a dealership and falls in love with a $35,000 SUV. The salesman runs the numbers, tells her she qualifies for a $650 monthly payment over 7 years. Sarah thinks this sounds reasonable because she can technically afford it. But here's what Sarah didn't calculate. Her total monthly transportation costs are now over $900 when you include insurance, gas, and maintenance. That's nearly 18% of her gross income. Almost double what financial experts recommend. Sarah is now car poor, which means she looks successful on the outside while struggling financially on the inside. Fast forward 3 years. Sarah's SUV is worth about $22,000, but she still owes $28,000 on the loan. She's trapped in what's called an underwater loan, owing more than the car is worth. If she needs to sell it due to job loss or financial emergency, she'd have to come up with $6,000 just to get out of the loan. Meanwhile, her coworker Mike, who also earned $75,000, bought a certified pre-owned Honda Accord for $15,000. He put $3,000 down and financed $12,000 over 3 years. His monthly payment, just $395. And he'll have it paid off completely while Sarah still has 4 years of payments remaining. Here's where the math gets really interesting. Once Mike pays off his car, he continues making that same $395 payment to himself by investing it. Over the next 10 years, assuming a conservative 7% return, that money grows to over $68,000. Mike built nearly $70,000 in wealth. Sarah just built a relationship with her mechanic. This is the hidden cost of buying too much car that nobody talks about. It's not just the monthly payment, it's the opportunity cost of all the money you could have been investing instead of sending to the bank every month. Quick question before we continue. What's your current monthly car payment? Drop it in the comments. I'm curious what people are actually paying versus what they should be paying, according to these rules. Alright, let's keep climbing the income ladder. Because this is where it gets even more dangerous. Moving up to $100,000 per year, your monthly take-home is approximately $6,800. The 10% rule allows for $680 in monthly transportation costs. The 8% rule caps you at $544. After insurance and gas, you're looking at roughly $500 for a car payment under the 10% rule, or about $400 with the conservative approach. This opens up significantly more options. With a $500 payment and proper down payment, you're shopping in the $22,000 to $25,000 range. At this income level, you can afford a reliable late model used car or possibly a basic new economy car. But here's the trap that catches many six-figure earners. They start thinking they've made it financially and deserve a luxury vehicle. Suddenly they're looking at BMW payments instead of Honda payments. and their financial future takes a dramatic turn for the worse. The person earning $100,000 who drives a paid-off $15,000 car and invests the difference will be infinitely wealthier than the person driving a $60,000 luxury car with a $700 monthly payment. Wealth isn't about looking rich, it's about being rich. Finally, let's examine someone earning $150,000 annually. After taxes, your realistic monthly take-home is likely around $9,100. The 10% rule allows for $910 in total monthly transportation costs. The 8% rule caps you at roughly $730. After setting aside about $200 for insurance and gas, you're looking at around $700 for a car payment under the 10% rule, or about $530 with the conservative approach. This puts you in the $30,000 to $35,000 range for vehicle purchases. I know that sounds low for a high earner. But remember, just because you earn six figures doesn't mean you should volunteer to pay six figures in interest and depreciation. At this salary level, you can afford a nice car without destroying your financial future. You might choose a well-equipped midsize sedan, a compact luxury vehicle, or even a basic pickup truck if that suits your needs. But even at this income level, stretching beyond these guidelines can derail your wealth-building goals. The biggest mistake high earners make is lifestyle inflation. They assume that earning more money means they should spend more money on everything, including cars. But the wealthy understand that the goal isn't to spend your money. The goal is to keep your money and make it work for you. Here's the reality that nobody wants to admit. The person driving the beat-up Toyota Camry with 200,000 miles might actually be wealthier than the person cruising in the brand new Mercedes. Why? Because they understand something that most people never figure out. Cars are wealth destroyers, not wealth builders. Now let's talk about something that makes car buying even more dangerous for your wealth. Extended warranties, gap insurance, paint protection, all the add-ons that dealers push during financing. These products can add $50 to $100 to your monthly payment, and most of them are either unnecessary or overpriced. The dealer might tell you gap insurance is essential, but if you put 20% down on a reasonable car, you won't need it. They'll say the extended warranty provides peace of mind, but if you're buying a reliable used car within your budget, you're better off setting aside the warranty payment each month for potential repairs. Here's where the psychology of car buying gets really twisted. Dealers train their salespeople to make you feel like you're getting a deal even when you're being financially destroyed. They'll show you a monthly payment and ask if you can afford it. Of course you can afford it. The question isn't whether you can afford the payment. The question is whether making that payment is the best use of your money. Think about it this way. Every dollar you spend on a car payment is a dollar that's not growing in an investment account. If you're paying an extra $200 per month for a fancier car, that's $200 that could be earning returns for the next 30 years. At a 7% annual return, that extra $200 per month becomes over $240,000 over 3 decades. Suddenly, that premium sound system and heated seats don't seem quite so appealing when you realize they might cost you $250,000 in lost wealth building opportunities. This brings us to one of the most important concepts in personal finance: opportunity cost. Every FI. Financial decision you make eliminates other opportunities. When you choose to spend money on a depreciating asset like a car, you're choosing not to invest that money in appreciating assets like stocks or real estate. The wealthy understand this concept intuitively. They drive reasonable cars not because they can't afford better ones, but because they'd rather use that money to buy assets that increase their wealth rather than drain it. Warren Buffett, one of the richest people in the world, famously drove the same car for decades. He understood that cars are tools for transportation, not investments or status symbols. But here's where many people get defensive. They argue that their car is important to their professional image, or that they spend so much time in it that they deserve something nice. These might be valid points in extreme cases, but they're usually just rationalizations for overspending. If you're a real estate agent or salesperson who genuinely needs to project success, you can still do that within reasonable guidelines. A well-maintained 3-year-old luxury car will project the same image as a brand new one, but at half the cost. The client sitting in the passenger seat can't tell the difference between a car that's 6 months old and one that's 3 years old. Here's the brutal truth about car affordability that most people refuse to accept. If you're not already wealthy, you can't afford to act like you are. Wealthy people can afford to make suboptimal financial decisions because they have the resources to absorb the losses. If you're still building wealth, every dollar counts. And wasting money on expensive cars will keep you from ever achieving financial independence. The path to wealth isn't complicated, but it requires making choices that your peers might not understand. While they're complaining about their car payments, you'll be building investment accounts that eventually eliminate the need for monthly payments on anything. Let's talk about financing terms, because this is where dealers absolutely love to play games with your brain. You've probably heard the pitch 1,000 times. We can get you into this car for just $39 more per month. They say it like 39 is nothing, like you accidentally drop that much in loose change every week. But here's the math they're hoping you won't do. $39 per month over 6 years is an extra $2,800. Over 7 years, $3,276. For what? Maybe upgraded floor mats and a slightly better sound system. You're literally paying $3,000 for features you could add yourself for $300. This is why the loan term is absolutely critical to your financial survival. Every month you add to your loan term makes the car more expensive. Even if the monthly payment looks smaller, a $20,000 car finance at 5% interest costs $21,600 over 4 years. Stretch that same loan to 6 years and you'll pay $22,645. 7 years pushes it to $23,712. You just paid an extra $2,600 for the privilege of making payments longer. That's not financial planning. That's financial torture. And here's the part that'll really mess with your head. By year 6 or 7, when you're still making payments, your car will need expensive repairs, transmission work, engine problems, suspension issues, so you'll be paying to fix a car you still owe money on. Remember those numbers we talked about today? $50,000 gets you an $8,000 car. $75,000 puts you around $15,000. $100,000 opens up $25,000. And $150,000 lets you shop around $35,000. These aren't suggestions. They're financial survival guidelines. Your future wealthy self will thank you for driving that boring, reliable car while everyone else is drowning in payments. If this video just saved you from years of financial regret, subscribe to Capital Theory, because we expose the difference between looking successful and being successful. Drop a comment. Tell me what you're currently driving and whether you're over budget after watching this. And be honest, nobody knows who you are. Next video drops in 3 days. We're breaking down the 10 ways your bank is legally stealing from you. And trust me, number 7 is going to make you check your account immediately. Stay smart. Don't let dealers play games with your wealth.